Okay, let's sit in a comfortable seated position and start noticing our natural breath. Just breathe, get your sit bones organized, and notice. Are you breathing shallowly? Are you breathing quickly? Just notice. On your next inhale, we'll start our 3-part yogic breath. That's where we will be filling our belly to our chest, up into our upper chest. So on your next inhale, let's take a nice deep breath, breathing in all the way up. Once you get to the top, release it. From the top to the middle to the bottom. You can have your hands on your belly or your chest to help feel this motion. And release it. On our next inhale, we will start Ujjaya Breath, which is our ocean-sounding breath, with a slight constriction in the back of our throats. We will begin on an inhale. The constriction is like fogging a mirror, but with your mouth closed. Still following the 3-part yogic breath of filling our bellies and then our chests and then our upper chest. The Ujjaya breath sounding like an ocean wave rising and falling. And just focus on the breath. Two more breaths of Ujjaya Pranayama. And we can return to our natural breath. Noticing any differences from when we first started paying attention at the beginning of our breath. Then we are going to move forward into our child's pose, bringing our big toes together, our knees as wide as our mat, our heart center reaching for the floor as our forehead rests on the mat. We will take a couple of breaths here. On your next inhale, tuck your toes and lift your hips into downward facing dog. Release your shoulders. Make sure your fingers are spread wide. We will move our right foot forward in between our hands for a lunge. Taking a few breaths here. Our ankle should be right under our knee. Then we will move our foot back, wrists under shoulders to plank. We will release into knees, chest, chin, and rise into cobra. Couple of breaths in cobra. Then tuck our toes, lift our hips up and back to downward facing dog. We will take a few breaths in downward dog. We will move our left foot forward in between our hands, our ankles right below our knees, into a lunge. We will release our foot back, wrists under shoulders, flat, under shoulders flat back. Bring your belly in and up, and then lower, knees, chest, chin, rising into cobra. Knees down, tuck your toes, lift your hips up and back to downward facing dog. Couple of breaths in downward facing dog. Release your shoulders. Then walk your feet up to meet your hands in your forward fold. We will grasp opposite elbows and hang in our back down. Moving our head yes and no and maybe. On your next inhale, rise. Exhale into Tadasana. Ooh. Sun Salutation A. We are going to reach our arms and look through our hands. We are going to forward fold. We're going to rise into our half back. We're going to plant our hands, step back, and lower in Chaturanga Dandasana. We're going to rise into upward facing dog. We will tuck our toes, lift our hips up and back into down dog. 5 breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll bend our knees, look forward, jump to our hands to flat back. Fold forward into forward bend. Inhale, rise. Exhale, Tadasana. Alrighty. From Tadasana, we will look up between our hands, fold forward into our forward fold. Inhale and lift into our flat back. We will plant our hands, step back, and lower in Chaturanga. We will rise into upward facing dog. We will lower down, tuck our toes, lift our hips up and back. Downward facing dog for 5 breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Moving our right foot forward in between our hands, we will plant our back foot and rise into Warrior 1, making sure that our knee is to the pinky side of our toe, hips squared to the front of our mat, and breathe. We'll move our hands to a prayer position. We'll fold forward into humble warrior and breathe. Making sure that we are not putting our weight on that leg. Our knee stays to the outward side of that foot, and our ankle is directly below that knee. Plant your hands to the inside of your foot. Lower the back leg down. Lower down into lizard lunge. Again, making sure that that ankle is underneath that knee. Your toes are on the floor, pushing down in the back. And breathe. We're going to tuck that back toe and lift that knee as we rise into Crescent Lunge. Straightening the front knee and rebending it. Making sure the knee is to the pinky side of the toe, ankles directly below the knees. Your back heel is active and up towards the sky. Your back leg is straight. We're going to plant our hands on either side of that front foot, and we will move forward into standing splits, keeping our hips square to the ground. Release the back leg, step back, and down in Chaturanga Dandasana. We will rise into our upward facing dog. We will tuck our toes, lift our hips, up and back to down dog. 5 breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Stepping our left foot forward between our hands, planting our back foot at a 45-degree angle. Rise into Warrior 1. Hips square to the front of your mat. Your knee is on the pinky side of that foot. And breathe. Hands in prayer position behind your back or clasped if the prayer position is not available to you. And we will fold forward for humble warrior. That ankle still below the knee, right directly below the knee. We are not putting our weight on the leg. Then release both hands to the inside of that foot. Lower your knee down and back and flatten the foot, and lowering to your elbows, making sure your ankle and your knee are still aligned. Lizard lunge. Tucking our toe, lifting our knee, planting our hands, we rise into Crescent Lunge, making sure that our ankle is directly below our knee. Our knee is to the pinky side of our foot. Our back leg is straight and our heel is facing towards the ceiling. On an inhale, straighten the front leg. Exhale, bend it. Rebend the knee down. Plant both hands on either side of your foot and step up into standing splits, keeping your hips square to the floor. And breathe. Release the foot, bring the left foot back, and Chaturanga Dandasana. Rise into your upward facing dog, tuck your toes, lift your hips into downward facing dog, and we will do 5 breaths here, relaxing between the shoulder blades. 1, 2,
Oh, so we're going to be at this title.
3, 4, and 5. Bend your knees, look forward, and jump your feet to your hands, rising into flat back. Exhale into forward fold. Inhale, rise. Exhale, Tadasana.